I think I'll call this video Greenhouse Build Part 1. Other than leveling off the area, which I did last fall, pouring the pads is what I've been doing over the past week. Not every day, but I'd pour 3 one day and I'd have to do something the next day or it'd rain. And the next time I got out here, I'd pour 3 or 4. I'm down to having to pour 3 more down the center. It's the last 3 I have to pour. I poured a couple this morning, but I'm basically out of concrete and I don't want to start pouring anymore and run out of concrete halfway through it. So hang out for a minute and I'll show you what I've been up to. Back behind me is where the greenhouse is going to go. I've got 12 of the pads poured and there's 3 more down the center that I need to pour. So I've got the perimeter ones poured. I can start after the concrete's set really nice, really set up really good. I can start building the walls of the greenhouse. After the 3 in the middle get poured, I can put the 4x4s up. Well, 2 of the 4x4s for the ridge beam will already be in, but I can put the other 3 up and work on the ridge and then work on the roof. Little by little, it's getting done. With the help of my old survey equipment over here, this is how I'm leveling it all out. One at a time. I'm taking this and that stick over there with a clamp on it. Every time I'd set this up, I'd use the clamp as a level right in the crosshairs. So I'd set that bar or set that pole up on top of one of the forms and I'd make sure all of them throughout the whole thing that I've already poured, make sure they're all the same level using this survey equipment. It's kind of old, but it still works. I do have another video showing that survey equipment. I can't remember what I went over, but it's a simple bubble level and then it's got crosshairs. When you look through it, it's got crosshairs. And you line that crosshair up on usually a tape measure, but I don't have that part of it, so I use a stick with a clamp on it. So these first 3 right here in front of us are the first 3 I poured. I'd say I poured those probably about 5 days ago, and I just took the forms off those to reuse them on some other ones. But all the way around the whole perimeter, 16 by 32, that end one in the middle and the end one in the middle down there are the 2 I just poured this morning. So those aren't cured, those are still wet. The rest of them are pretty solid. It's still kind of cold out. Highs of, some of the days the highs were 55 and the lows were in the 35 range. I try and pour these right about starting at 11:30 in the morning. I'd be done by 1:30 or so. That's one reason I didn't pour them all on the same day. I want to let it warm up a little bit. I mix it with hot water so that the concrete would be hot when I put it in, and hopefully it would keep some of that heat inside it. And then it would, the top layer would be solid before nightfall, before it started getting too cold. You don't want concrete to freeze when it's wet because the water molecules in it will expand and break your concrete up. But I'm pretty confident in these pads. Number one, they're just pads for a greenhouse to set on. I will have 1 lag bolt, or it's not called a lag bolt, it's a tie down bolt. I'll have 1 in each pad to hold the walls. But other than that, it's just there to hold the walls up. You notice the pads are a little bit higher than the ground. I'm going to come back in with gravel and pour gravel down. So there's about an inch and a half of gravel or more underneath the walls, and that'll keep the water away from the 2x4s that I make the walls out of. I didn't feel like videotaping myself mixing concrete with a shovel in a bucket and then pour it in a hole. I figured that might get a little boring, so I kind of skipped over that part of this build. If you don't know how to mix concrete, most of the bags say just add water, so I guess just add water. I've poured concrete a lot. I actually had a job working construction where we poured concrete. You mix it to a certain consistency, you pour in a hole, it sets up. Ideally, you want it to be about 70 degrees out, but I don't want to wait that long, because if I wait that long, I'm working on my house. The house is definitely priority, but the greenhouse is kind of a simple build, so I'm going to see how much of that I can get done. And then I'll work on that in between what I can get done in the house. I can't say that I'll put out a video every day. I'm not much of a everyday vlogger, but I will put out updates on what I've gotten done around the property, the greenhouse, the house, the outbuilding. The tree fort's gonna be last. I don't know, it might be this fall when I get to the tree fort, much to my kids' disappointment, but we'll get it all done little by little. Until next time, guys, go make something.